You're listening to the ADHD Heroes Podcast, a podcast where we speak with the heroes of the ADHD community, namely educators, mental health professionals, and of course, those with ADHD themselves, to gain insights, tools, and most importantly, inspiration towards succeeding and thriving with ADHD. I'm your host, Rabbi Shmuel Reich, a high school rabbi and an ADHD coach in private practice. Welcome to the show. Hi there. On this week's episode, I spoke with Dr. Nachi Felt, a well-known clinical psychologist and lecturer, about his own ADHD story. It is less well known that Dr. Felt also has rabbinic ordination, which we discuss in our conversation. We also discussed his early trouble in school, teachers who appreciated him for who he is, how the study of self-improvement through Torah helped him learn to self-regulate and create appropriate goals and structure for himself as early as high school, some clever mnemonics for how he and his clients remember strategies for effective productivity, the dichotomy of coaching and therapy, and a lot more. Enjoy. Dr. Nachi Felt, Rabbi Dr. Nachi Felt. Welcome to the ADHD Heroes Podcast. I'm excited for our conversation today.
Oh, yay, me too. Finally happened, right? It takes two guys with ADHD to finally get together, right?
Good things come to those who wait, we'll say.
Hey, well, those who plan and schedule and wait.
That too. Okay, excellent. So I'll start with a general overview about yourself and your background. For those who didn't read the Mishpacha magazine article, they're missing out, by the way. Right.
Or I should give the expose and all the stuff that wasn't in it.
That's good too, yeah.
So I have ADHD, which is very exciting. It was always exciting, and but wasn't always something that was such a source of pride as it is for me now. It's funny because with the gift of time and experience, and most importantly, success, I'm able to look back and be like, oh, wow, it's really kind of a cool thing. I find that a lot of the places I've gone or where I am now, a lot of that's from having that like impulsive, fast grasp of a situation, just with a caveat. That's also been honed by 15 years of intense Talmudic study. But the combination still of like a very analytical mind with, I think the old style word would be gumption, is definitely something that
It's a good word.
Yeah, that I've known for a long time is definitive about me. Like ever since I was a kid and getting into trouble, but also kind of being endearing, and then getting in trouble and then being endearing, is kind of something I've learned to do even in my adult life, which is owning up to my mistakes and growing from them. And to me, that's what my relationship with ADHD is very much. It's something that's a source of learning for me. It helps me grow. It helps me become better. It's what's gotten me through having to get kicked out of multiple schools, and working that through really is from this sense of responsibility and achrayus that I take for myself and my ADHD, meaning it's not just I have ADHD, what do you want? If I did that, I don't think I'd be here on your podcast as an ADHD hero.
Wow, that's incredible. You took the challenges, found the skills, were able to harness the skills, put them to good use, and identify the challenges. Very very impressive. So where are you stationed right now generally?
In my life?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I love talking about my life.
All right.
So right now I split up my life into three parts. There's the most important part, which is me and my personal development. And so that's basically around like the weekends and the mornings. So I have like family time Friday night, which is we limit our meal to just my family and my kiddos, right? Shabbos day is a little bit more makel, and we have some more fun with folk. But really, Motzei Shabbos is when the week starts for me, because that's when I sit down and I do my cheshbon hanefesh. I do Mussar. I've been doing this for since I was 15. Yeah, 15 years old. My daughter does it now. She's 8.
That's so cute.
My 6-year-old just started. Yeah, with her 10-year plan. The first were. Oh, I'm not allowed to say what's on her 10-year plan. Sorry. Okay, caught myself. Very private. But my 6-year-old has a 10-year plan, and she just did one of them that's on her 6-year plan, which was to write a book. And she wrote a book. So well done. Good for her.
That's cool. Planning.
Yeah, it's got 5 pages. But listen, that's a start. I think it's a very good start. You got to set your goals and try to hit them. Sunday fun day. That's where I get to invest again in my family. Morning Seder throughout the week is the me time. So that's when I learn and focus on like writing my svarim. And then the afternoons are split up by clinicals and teaching. So I have my Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning. Those are like, so it's Monday afternoon, Wednesday afternoon, and Friday morning. Those are my clinical days when I do what I love, which is helping other folks with ADHD. Really, really, really super fun. I have like really great folk, very motivated people. We do great work and it's so much fun. Then I have Tuesdays and Thursdays. Those are my Columbia days. So Tuesdays when I teach. I have this really great class on adult psychopathology where you figure out like how do you tell the difference between anxiety or ADHD or autism or OCD or like all these things. How do you tell the difference? What I call diagnostic differential, right? How do you, or diagnostic discernment, how to be mavchin bein diagnosis or diagnosis.
Right.
And then Thursdays when we do my lab. My lab is the executive functioning. It's where we focus on resilience and executive functioning. It's called the Cognition and Neuroscience Lab at Columbia. And that's where we're trying to figure out how do we hack this awesome brain of ADHD and make it better, stronger, faster, more efficient. And it's just so much fun because now I have these three parts. I have the me, I have the clinical work, and then I have my Columbia work. And so all three, each one's sharpening each other's blade. And I really like that.
That's amazing. I imagine it took you a while to develop that.
Yeah, I call this
Right.
CSI, which is creating schedule intentionality. It's where you try to design your life around your passion so that you're investing the most of you into the best of you.
Oh, very good. I like that. Very
Oh yeah, we should
very
write that down.
well phrased.
Yeah, let's put that down.
Okay, excellent. So a little bit of a trip down memory lane for you. What are some early memories that you or family members have that you associate with ADHD? Like some of the earliest ones.
Me never being good enough.
Oh,
That's
that's
my earliest memory. Rushing out to do things and being yelled at for not thinking before I did stuff. All these impulsive stuff that I talk about now as a strength is
right.
only a strength now because it's been honed by years of experience and analysis. But as a kid, I didn't really have that. I didn't yet learn how to learn. I didn't yet know how to stop and think. I didn't know how to kind of zoom out to zoom in, which is a huge skill that those of us with ADHD need to develop, which is zooming out so that we can zoom in. The perpetual struggle for me is always to kind of zoom out, see the big picture before I zoom back in. So as a kid, I didn't really, I guess, know that or wasn't so good at it. Maybe even if I knew it, I probably wouldn't have been able to do it. So zooming out was not my forte, and there was a lot of zooming in on things that may or may not have been helpful for me. So I feel a lot of like, as I think back to my childhood, I think of a lot of inadequacy, shame, just feeling like I don't fit really, I guess is the right word, which is so funny because everyone says, oh, everyone has ADHD. Oh, yes. And how come I always felt like a misfit? Right. So the funny thing is that, yeah, whenever I think about my youth, I just think about this like lonely kid who never really fit in and was always trying to figure it out and felt like a outcast and a loser.
Oh man, sorry, that's hard.
It was hard, but now, Baruch Hashem, I make money on it.
Okay, that's good. A good positive spin on it. How far back are you remembering this? Like how early are we talking?
I'm talking grade school, like back when I lived in Queens, in New York,
Right.
as a little kid, a coy little kid. Then yeah, like first grade, being kicked out a lot. Second grade, being kicked out even more. Third grade was a good year. I had really good teachers that year. Really great. Shout out to Rabbi Schwartz
All right.
and Mrs. Mattel. They loved me and really finally that was the first like glimpse of seeing the goodness of me, that endearment part I spoke about. It seemed like that finally to have like two teachers who believed in me, and I got lucky because it was two in the same, like there's Rabbi Schwartz in the morning, Mrs. Mattel in the afternoon. So having that one full year of just positive love and acceptance and appreciation, I think was a game changer for me. And then fourth grade went right back to being tough. Fifth grade, I moved to San Diego, so I also had to adjust to co-ed school, to day school. So that was like a whole different world. And I was the rabbi's kid. So it's always a fun, uh, I guess, social
Roll with it.
situation to navigate.
Right.
Um, And that continued for a few years till we moved to LA. But again, by LA already, like high school's a funny thing. Like it is youth, but it's also not. It's when we're kind of developing into who we are.
Right.
Um, but even then, yeah, there was a lot of ditching school, struggling to pay attention in Gemara class, or even knowing when Gemara class was. Like you would think it's the same schedule every day. How come I have no idea when or where class is? Still happens now, by the way, but
Right.
it's
I see
now
such
I
things
just
all
have
the time.
yeah. Now I just have good like support skills. Like I take a picture of the classroom door the first day. This way I know the class number, and
Oh,
like
very good.
whenever I
Very good.
forget, as I'm yeah, I'm able to just check my phone. It's saved as a favorite picture.
Oh, perfect. Very good. Very good. What were some other things that adults did right in elementary school? What did the third grade rabbi and teacher do well? And were there other adults who
They
did things
loved me.
well? What they do?
They loved me. I feel like Rabbi Trank, but just love them. That was it. They loved me, and they worked with me. I think that's the next best thing. I feel like a lot of people don't realize this, but it's not enough to love a kid, not enough to love a student. You also have to work with them. This is Rabbi Chaim Feuerman, my Rebbe. He used to say he used to be the celebrity professor at the Azrieli School of Education, and he always would say it's not enough to love a kid; you also have to like him. And I
Oh,
think it's
very
a
good. Tell
deep,
me more. What's it?
yeah,
What's
very
yeah.
deep statement. Because he was saying that like everyone loves their Talmud,
Right.
right? He says it's got to be more than that. You have to actually like know their life, like them, like their be interested. Like when you like someone, you like get to know them, right? And you get to know like about their lizard collection, or that they're really into baseball, and for some odd reason they go for the Mets. And like to like them for them, and even though they're a Met fan, the idea is when you like someone, it's so much more personal and real than just this generic just love them. And that feels so much more real. And with ADHD, because it's really all about realness, um, we it's hard for us not to be real, because we have too much chaos in our heads. So it's just more convenient and easier and efficient for us to be honest and straight, no matter for good and for bad.
Right.
We sense that, we pick it up, and the realness resonates. And when I felt that these teachers in third grade really did like me, they liked me for who I was with my personality, and I felt appreciated, believed in.
What did they express they believed in?
They never said it. I don't
Right.
think I ever remember them saying, I believe in you, like
Right.
any of these, like, stickers that you would get.
Right.
It was just the attitude, that vibe. I told you, like, we could pick this stuff up, we sniff it out.
Right. So they were working with you, and you could smell that they're working with you because they thought that was a worthwhile investment.
Yeah, it wasn't even limited to smell. They
Right.
could smile when I come in, their eyes would light up. I still remember like making trouble once, and the Rebbe laughed, and then told me you can't do that, But like he enjoyed the chop, or he enjoyed the mischief, and then set the boundary, as opposed to a Rebbe who's too insecure that there's some obstruction to his highly choreographed class plan. And this Rebbe just like would laugh and remind me of what I should be doing, and like that just exudes acceptance and love.
I always feel like the laughing goes a long way because
Yeah,
whether
yeah, and even just seeing in their eyes, like their eyes would light up whenever I would talk or like be involved.
what if you could go back in time and tell the teachers or other adults in your life information that would be valuable for them to know, what would you want to tell them?
Yeesh, that's a tough question. What do you tell the people who didn't help me? I think I would tell those teachers we're trying our best. Have some rachmanis, like try to believe in the good parts of us and celebrate those parts of us. Every kid wants to be good, or at least we start out that way, where we want to be good. And help us be good. Let us be good and celebrate our good.
Right. I think that's a big deal. I think a lot of teachers, especially when we were growing up. I'm 41. I assume you're not far behind, right?
Hmm.
So when we were growing up, I think they didn't know much. So I think there
Yeah,
was
it's
a
a
lot of misreading going on.
fallacy. That's a fallacy. I heard from
Yeah, right.
Rabbi Dr. Sorotskin. He said, it's interesting. They always say, oh, the Rebbeim didn't know. The Rebbeim didn't know. Yeah, but they were still really good Rebbeim back then. Even even though they didn't know about all these, different alphabet of disorders. And you know what? There were still good rebbeim back then. Why? Because some rebbeim care about the kid and they love the kid no matter what flavor, no matter what. They just love the kid and they're willing to work with that kid. Now, I'm not saying you should make your class a Hefker Welt. Of course not. And anyone who knows anything about ADHD or about children or about human beings knows that we need structure. We need structure and order in order to survive. Look at the Torah, right? The Torah is all about rules, right? It's one giant rule book with 1,000,000 rules in it that then have 1,000,000 more rules. And then we argue about the rules and then we end up having to keep 2,000,000 rules because we're not sure, right? The idea is that, again, especially in this community, Frum community, Torah community, a fuck boy. Look in the Torah and you'll see there's rules. There's got to be structure. There's no such, again, I'm not knocking other mahalchim out there that maybe people go to as a last resort. I'm talking about first line of defense, right? Standard Rebbe mechanic practice should be structure and rules. And we appreciate that. We get it. The idea is how you respond to that. How do you maintain Seder? How do you maintain structure? Is it with a twinkle in your eye and a gentle reminder to get back into line? Is it with behavior plans and working it out with the kid and having private deals and incentives that you're working with the child to help them keep to that structure? Or is it just getting mad and yelling and being just perpetually frustrated and annoyed at this kid, which he then feels and then gives up ever being good again? I think nowadays people have gotten a lot better at it. And I don't know if it's necessarily because they know about ADHD. I think it's that now what's switched is that we only have superstar rebbeim.
Interesting. So you're saying that you feel like the quality of the teachers is better and therefore they are educating themselves better. Not the other way.
Yeah. Again, most teachers are overworked and underpaid. So I don't know how much time they have to necessarily educate themselves. How much are you getting ready from a one-day workshop at Torah Mussar, right? But it does open your mind. And if you're open to this kind of stuff, you pick it up when you find it, where you find it. Wherever it is, you'll pick it up and you learn. But most importantly, like Rabbi Dr. Srutskin was saying, is if you really care about the kids, you figure out how to work with them. And as Rabbi Feuerman says, it's so important just to like the kid. If you can like the kid, then it doesn't really matter what diagnosis or disorder, right? And then what you were pointing out, which is, them knowing stuff. Yeah, well, if you like and care and want to be there, then you'll probably educate yourself about these things so that you can be better at helping the kid with their specific struggle. But yeah, I feel like overall, rebbeim are becoming so much more attuned and in touch with talmidim and the needs of the student. I think that's true with a lot of teachers. Also, I'm just thinking about like my children's girls' school, like they're at a Beis Yaakov, and these teachers are amazing. They're so dedicated, they're so experienced, and they have such a focus on really helping kids be the best they can. And it's so cool for me to see. I get such a chizuk. It's like, for me, a Kiddush Hashem, like Mikam Yisrael, like look at this nation that's so focused on investing in our youth and investing in our kiddos. And it's really something that's beautiful and inspiring.
Right. Amazing. Nice that you're seeing that in the next generation.
Big fan.
Awesome. Looking at high school, did you figure out any tools for yourself in high school or not yet?
Yeah, that's the Fishman and Nefesh thing.
Right. Oh, you started doing that in high school.
Yeah, in high school, I found Mesilas Yesharim to be very, very grounding. He's very structured and very clear. And if anyone knows anything about the Ramchal, right, he is one of the clearest thinkers of our entire nation. And the way he spells out Yahadus and the rules and the underlying mechanics of it, and let's say even Derech Hashem. Derech Hashem was my airplane safer. I would leave it in my airplane bag, my go bag, because it was so calming to just read the underlying mechanics of it and to understand it. For a lot of us with ADHD, when we have a why, we can handle the what. The how allows us to handle the annoyance of all the can do's, can-nots.
Right, you can create that sense of motivation when you know why you're doing it. Is that what you're saying?
It's calm, really. It's more containing. I found the Ramchal to be very containing. He helped me understand the whys of like why I'm doing stuff. And then, naturally, he says it there. He says, Ke'evan HaShoeves, right? We're nimshach achar Hashem. Like we're drawn after Hashem like a magnet. Meaning our natural state is to be good people. We're good and we want to be good and we want to be close to Hashem. If you think about love, ahava, right? Like love is appreciation of goodness. So we all want to be close to goodness. If you look in the beginning of Mishnah Brura, he talks about like how do you develop Avos Hashem? He says through learning Torah. When you see the depth of Hashem's chachma, then you feel this awe, this appreciation. For folks who appreciate learning, and I guess more of the other parts of Judaism. So for them, the depth of Hashem is very like almost in a way awe-inspiring and develops and induces love because I appreciate the goodness of God and I want to be close to him. We all want to be close to goodness. And so that naturally is a draw for us. So if I'm able to see the goodness of Hashem, I'll naturally have that motivation. I don't have to like induce it or create it or manufacture it, or use point systems and knas and all the other things that a lot of schools have to do, right? Because if you understand it and you want it, a lot of it's there. Now, again, structures and point systems will help, maybe accentuate that process. But the idea really has to be a focus on what do you really want. And what's really good. Mahu ha'toiv ha'amiti, as the Mesilas Yesharim says.
The true good, yes. That's very sophisticated for high school.
I guess I
sounds
was
like
kind
you
of a
figure out a lot.
sophisticated guy. Yeah, I was very lucky. Again, I went to like one of these high schools that was very focused on Mussar and on growth. And I think that Mussar and self-growth is very helpful for people with ADHD. Not only is it calming and containing, but it gives a path forward. It allows us to know be'ezu derech, like where am I supposed to go? I'm saying just think about it, right there in the introduction. So for me, this is one of my most favorite like varts is the
Maybe you could just
Ramchal.
translate for people who might not be familiar.
Oh, sure. So the Moshe Chaim Luzzatto in the beginning of his book, The Path of the Just, of the Straight, says that the foundation of piety, meaning how to be like really good and holy, is to clarify for yourself and to recognize the truth of that which is our role in this world. And the Hebrew is actually very important, so I'm going to go through it a little bit slower so that people can get this. Sheyizborer, that you should clarify. V'yis ames, right, comes from the word emes, which means truth. Eitzel ha'adam, meaning towards a person. Ma, which is what. Chovaso is his obligation. What's his duty? Be'olamo, in his world. And I find that phrase, we know from the Vilna Gaon, that there's nothing extra in Mesilas Yesharim, at least for the first 11 chapters. So here we are, first line, opening salvo. And I always was struck by this additional word, yizbar v'yisames, right? Like once I know that it's clear and true, once I know it's true, what do I need this clarity like piece for? Once I know Moshe Emes or Taraso Emes, so then what do I need this yizbarer thing? But with time and experience, I've come to learn that we need the yizbarer part, if not more than the MS part. Meaning that's why he says yizbarer v'yisames. You should have clarity and then have the truth. Meaning because if it's not clear to me, it could be the truest thing in the world. But if I don't see it and if I can't feel it and if I can't connect to it, it ain't doing nothing for me. And then he follows up, right, with the end of that sentence, right, where he says, Machovaso ba'olamo, what is your specific, right? Specific what is this man's specific duty in his world? Because each one of us has our own world and therefore our own duty. And we need to get clarity in what it is that we are supposed to do with our unique co-host, with our unique personality. What are we here to do? And it's going to be a unique mission for each one of us. And we could be facing very similar situations, but have a very different goal or mission objective. And that, I think, is very calming and containing for those of us with ADHD, because it, first of all, is, neurodiverse, inclusive, and it's very inclusive. It's saying that, you have to kind of be an individual and focus on your individual pursuit of avoda, of service of God. And that's very calming because we clearly aren't the classic, we don't fit into the mainstream way of doing things and serving Hashem. So it's just so comforting and empowering to have Mesilas Yesharim, this great work that's been, heralded as one of the Bible of self-help, of working on ourselves, if by all of the greats of our nation, to see written in there, like this idea, the focus on an individual acquisition of service of God, that we each have our own way. Hybrid drachim malkum. There are a lot of different ways to get to Hashem, and it's so cool to know that what's so important is for us to get clarity in how I am supposed to, how you are supposed to, how each one of us in our own way is supposed to get close to Hashem? What is our specific duty in our world?
Right. Incredible. So what did that when things started turning around? What did that look like?
There was a lot of Mesilas Yesharim,
Right.
as you can tell.
Right.
There was a lot of that. There's a lot of Derech Hashem. There was a lot of just like kind of aligning myself with where I wanted to be. So this is actually something from Rav Yisrael Salanter, where in letter 30, his famous letter 30, he talks about like the unconscious and how to change your nature. So you can imagine someone who always felt like insecure and inadequate would probably be very interested in how to change themselves or improve themselves. And for me, I was very drawn to Rav Yisrael Salanter specifically for this reason, that I wanted to know how to change myself or improve myself. He says in letter 30 that there are 3 parts to effective tikkun hamidos, to changing your nature, changing your personality, and repairing or fixing yourself. And he says that I call it the ABCs of tikkun
ABCs.
hamidos.
Okay,
Oh
sounds
yeah,
great.
it all comes down to that, right? Which is number 1 is alignment. Knowing where do I want to go? Where do I want to be? Like zooming out, that big zoom out, like zooming
Right.
out. What do I really want? Machal vasa baloma. Like, what do I really want?
Right.
What do I want? What do I want from this world? And then the second thing is buy-in. I need to have some sort of emotional engagement with whatever it is that I am doing, right? So let's say I've zoomed out and I'm like, yeah, the right thing to do is to serve Hashem and learn Hashem's Torah.
Right.
Yay, great. Now what?
Right.
So without buy-in, without emotional like engagement with the material or with this alignment with like whatever my goals are, ain't nothing going to happen for us, because we need to have some sort of stimulation, something to push us. And therefore, I would often recommend and that like even in learning to like really get worked up on that, to have Tosis piss you off. Like you want to know like how does a Kenyan work? Like what exactly? I do Mashiach, I lift something and now all of a sudden this is someone else's thing. Like what exactly happened? Was this black magic? Like how does this work? The idea
Right.
of like getting ourselves engaged, emotionally engaged in something is not entirely unreasonable or beyond our ability. We could zoom out and be like, yeah, Taka, I always want to know how does a star affect anything? How does a document change anything? How does my signature do something? Like all these kind of things, like Torah is filled with so many of the ingredients to do this, to turn our brain on and to get involved. So you need that the buy-in, right? To get ourselves emotionally involved, like to find something that's your chovaso, that's something specific for you, but olamo in your world. And then the final step is conditioning, right? So it's alignment, buy-in, and conditioning. If you don't condition yourselves to do what you want to be doing and to engage in what you want to be doing, ain't nothing going to happen. Like for instance, I recently wanted to focus on davening more. Why? Because alignment, right? My big picture zoom out was I want to feel closer to Hashem. I want to daven to Him. I want to appreciate what He's given me and to have Rila Karsa Tov for the success I've had and feel so close to Him. And I want to kind of do that in the way that Hashem and our Chacham have organized it through, tefillah. And I realized that my schedule wasn't allowing for that. I was always at like a minyan that I was always coming late for. Not that anyone with ADHD could relate to that. And so in order to do this differently, I said, I need to find the minyan where I could, actually do this properly. And so I found the minyan and made sure to get myself in a nice little spot there. It's a nice comfy spot near the door so I could leave whenever I want. And the idea of like relishing the tefillah, like sitting there smiling to myself as I had kavanah on the words, and that emotional engagement for me was really what like kind of started getting the juices flowing and making this like something I enjoy and I want to do. But it would need conditioning. It would need that now I make sure that I'm disciplined enough to get to that place, or that I've either incentivized myself to start a new habit to get to this minyan, or some way to kind of condition myself that this is what I get used to doing. And without those 3 steps, the ABC, alignment, buy-in, and conditioning, it's very hard to change our nature. And you need all 3 of them to change who we are. Like I'm hoping that through this, I'll become more of an appreciative person, someone who's much closer to Hashem, someone who feels like kind of, zoned in to this relationship and to avoda. And that'll only come from these 3 steps: alignment, buy-in, and then conditioning. And that applies to anything, like even in business, right? You have to kind of figure out like, what do I want to do in business? How do I want to make my money? Well, what kind of gets it going for me? What makes me work? What makes me tick? Right? And then, conditioning, you got to do the work. You got to do the work to get yourself there. You got to put in time and effort until it gets easier and more. You get better at doing this.
Right, I really like that mnemonic, and those two, the last two, the buy-in and the conditioning, really do feed off each other. I see that also. How the buy-in gets you emotionally engaged, but that's going to fade unless you create a structure where it's going to really happen and really stick. I really like that. Really like that as mnemonic.
It's not me. It's Rabbi Yisrael Salanter.
He did the mnemonic too.
He would if he was on this podcast.
Very good, very good. So you got a PhD and you have smicha. So how'd you pull it off? What are some strategies people should learn from?
A lot of stimulants.
Okay,
And
helped people before. Yeah.
and CSI, creating schedule intentionality. What I love about my smicha was that it was a tremendous avoda that I wanted to do right. So I had the alignment, right, which is that if I'm doing this, I want to know halacha, I want to know it right. And emotional engagement, right, the buy-in was that I needed a way that I could kind of get halacha l'maisa, not just like kind of rip through the shach and taz. Like I actually wanted to know everything.
So the
But
practical side of it spoke to you emotionally, if I'm getting you correctly.
I needed the clarity. If I didn't have
Right.
the yizbar, then
It's clarity. Okay.
yeah, it's not going to stick with me. It's not emotional. I just feel like a loser that I don't remember the halacha.
Right.
So I needed a way to also remember it. And then the conditioning was really like kind of setting a schedule. I'd have a quota of what I was doing. I would chazer the old stuff and then move forward on the new stuff. And I was chazering a different section of Shulchan Aruch throughout the day. I would have a quota for each section of Shulchan Aruch. So I was like, in a way, kind of going over all the different halakim of Shulchan Aruch at the same time, which was really cool. In my Shulchan Aruch, I have cross references, like where I found that where the Taz held something by, I think it was bugs. And he made like this he made a step over there about the idea of a muhsuk and how to use the muhsuk regarding bugs and to rely on it. And I saw that he used it also in Choshen Mishpat, right? The Sma had something there. And it was just so cool that like I was learning all of it all at once. And that made me feel like I had a good grasp of it. And like I got that emotional engagement of feeling really good. Like I knew this stuff. Now, again, it was a lot of conditioning, a lot of putting in the work and really working. Like I would go till I dropped, meaning I had my quotas and I wouldn't stop until I hit my quota. And then I'd go to sleep and wake up 6 hours after that and start again. So yeah, it was a little bit of a crazy schedule. I also at the same time also was trying to like get my dissertation done. So like that was
right. I was going to ask you, you're doing that while you're working on a PhD?
Yeah, it all came to a head. That last year was the dissertation and smicha was all 1 year. I kind of did a little bit on purpose because I knew that ein koyach k'koyach ha'hechrach, and for those of us with ADHD, urgency and like having to do something really, really, really pushes us, and it could unlock tremendous powers that other people may not necessarily have. And for me, that was definitely true. I unlocked superpowers that I have and was able to really, really just explode in terms of ability and potential. And it was really cool. I crushed that smicha bechina. We had an 8-hour bechina. It was an all day long bechina on all different sections of Shulchan Aruch. And every single time the bochin would ask a question, bam, I would quote from the Gemaras, the Rishonim. I'd go through them all because I was also doing the Torah bias because I wanted to know, the background. Remember how I was saying that for ADHD, we like seeing the big picture, and this gives us containment. It kind of helps us contain stuff. So I would learn the Torah bias, which is the Rashba's, his
work on halacha.
His work on halacha, but it's cool because he's like talking to Sha'altias Haramban, right? And like he has Kasafti le Rabbeinu Yonah, and like it's just like so cool because then I would get all these different rishonim, and I get like a little like rush of excitement when I would get a bonus rishon in there, like the Ramban. Ooh, that was awesome, right? And so it was just really cool then to kind of have the context. So it allowed me to see the bigger picture, and then by the time I got to Shulchan Aruch, I was so much more well versed and like. More than that, I was so much more contained. Like I felt calm. Like there's familiar waters already. Like I already knew where they were coming from, and I knew that I'd seen the Gemaras that they were quoting, and so I kind of knew exactly what was happening. I'd already looked up at the Rambam and Machuli Asuros, or looked up all the other Rishonim on it. So it was really cool. And that I really am so proud of that bechina. Every single time I would say he would ask a question, I go, well, the Rambam says like this, the Rashba says like this, the Ramban says like that, and then I would then tell him the tour and the Beis Yosef and just all the way down. And he's just like, I just want to know the Shech and Test. That's all I want to know. And at a certain point, he made me stop. He's like, "Oh, okay. The London Bezdin." And my father's from London, so the London Bezdin. I know what the London Bezdin is to say. You. I want to hear. just tell me the like just the base. I just want to know what it says in the Shach and the Taz. That's all. And it was really cool. Like I even have in my shulchan when I came to the Bechinas, I had the huge Shulchan Aruch, and I had a newspaper clipping in in Shulchan Aruch and in Mussar B'Chalav. It talks about what happens when you there's a concept that if you leave something right for a long time and something else is it's a form of bishul, right? So I had this case that I had seen in the newspaper of an Iraqi chef who fell inside the cauldron of soup that he was making for a wedding. He was catering a wedding. And so I took out that newspaper clipping to bring it as a shaila, and to show him how there is a biur halacha that literally talks about this case of an Arab that one time fell inside a be'er, inside a well, right? And then what happens, right? And so we say, nice and tam lefgam, right? Because it's a bad day, right? Does it passel the water of the well, the fact that there was a dead body in it? Like, it was just really fun for me. I tried to make it as practical, real, emotionally engaging, and any way that I used all these tricks to kind of make it real for me. And it really it turned smicha into something super fun. Like, not only was it challenging and competitive, but it was also super fun, which reminds me of the 4Cs. Could I give a shout out to David Becker and his 4Cs?
Oh, please. Yeah, go for it.
Yay. David Becker has these 4Cs that he talks about are the way to manufacture interest. How do you turn on the brain, the ADHD brain? So he says the first one is something that's competitive, right? Where it's like a challenge or getting something exciting. Right. Then there's challenge, where something actually is hard to do. There's crisis, right, where you have to do it. There's a sense of urgency. And then there's the final C, which is creativity, like something that's just fun and stimulating. And in a way, for me, I kind of harnessed all 4Cs when I was doing smicha. I made it. I had this competition, right, with myself, because I had all these little quotas that I had to chazer. And each day I have these little check boxes, and I check them off and feel amazing every time I finished it. And then I had the challenge, which is the overall smicha at the end. At the end, I have this giant bechina. So I didn't want to look stupid at the bechina, and or feel stupid, more importantly. And the crisis was again the same thing. I use that urgency of the deadlines. I call this ADD, right? Artificial due dates. Really yeah, it's really fun. And finally, creativity, bringing in these newspaper clippings. I would even draw things out so you could see if it was a green spoon, right? Green for parv, going into a blue pot, right? And then there was a red noodle or red thingy for fleshing. So I had these drawings. I have the illustrated Shulchan Aruch now. You can just look at my Shulchan Aruch and you'll see I drew out a lot of these cases. And that made it so much more fun. And obviously I color-coded my entire Shulchan Aruch. I've red for Usser, green for Mutter, then there's purple for Machlokes, blue for Practical Halach Lamaisa, black for Mekoros, right? So for me, when I look at my Shulchan Aruch, I'm home.
It's personalized.
Everything has a place. It's very containing, very calm, and it's a tremendous source of satisfaction.
Right. Incredible. It's also the sense of accomplishment.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
Made me feel like $1 million.
Right. Moving on to your psychology career. So you chose to focus on executive function.
I did.
What made you decide
to do that? Thrown into it.
Yeah, thrown into it. Okay, tell me more.
Yeah, I was in the middle of a class with Dr. Norman Blumenthal, and he's giving class on ADHD. Right. And so the first slide comes up, and it says ADHD, and I was like, "Oh, I have that."
Right.
And he's like, "What?" And the whole class looks, and I'm holding my pill. I'm like, "See, I'm about to." And then I realized I didn't take my pill yet. So I was super impulsive and just announced to the entire class. I just outed myself. And I was like, I'll shut up now. And he's like, can I talk to you after class? I felt like I was back in second grade. Oh, no. And here I am, in graduate school, SPIFA. And I ended up being asked to do a presentation with him for OL on ADHD. And that was it. I became the ADHD doctor with that. And that was that.
That's amazing. That's a great. He put a good positive spin on that.
Yeah, this is what we need rabbis and teachers to do, to focus on the good.
Right.
I remember he said that straight. I was like, you want me to present on ADHD? What do I know about ADHD? He's like, what don't you know about ADHD? He's like, look at
Right.
you got smicha, a PhD, you're super successful, married, a great family. Like, like, tell people how you did it.
Right.
And obviously I felt insecure, like an imposter, because that's just normal to feel like a fake whenever you're super successful. So I went back to school. I went to NYU's Child Study Center, where they have like world class, top leading center on ADHD. It used to be headed, I think back then it was still being headed by Glenn Hirsch. And I got trained in like the latest and greatest ADHD stuff, and that was very affirming for me and gave me that confidence. Like, okay, I got this. And then I worked with Ari Tuckman, where we still meet weekly to kind of go over cases, and that also built my clinical confidence.
You still do
So
now?
oh yeah, now we just do it as friends. It's really
Oh,
fun.
no way. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, he's really great. And also, if I ever get like a really tough case, then I'm happy. It's always nice. It's like having a Shaft with like Shmuel Kamenetsky.
Right.
Like like you have someone that you could always ask anything tough that comes up.
Right. Right. For sure. Well, that's cool. But you focus specifically on the executive function part of it, as opposed to, the therapy piece of it, even though you are a clinical psychologist.
That is a very good point. Yeah. So I had this distinction I made with David Becker, which is coaching versus therapy. So it really comes down to this chakira, right? Do you need to feel better in order to function better, or do you need to function better in order to feel better?
Right.
So for some people, they're kind of stuck, right? They feel gross about themselves, so therefore they can't really function. So they need to probably see a therapist to work on how to feel better about themselves, so that then they can function better. And there are the other people who just aren't functioning well, and that's why they don't feel good. So if they would function better, right, like by seeing a coach, then they'll start feeling better, and then they don't even need the therapy. Now,
Right.
what do you do when someone needs both? And that's me. I help that person. People who kind of could use both, a little bit of help, feeling better and functioning better at the same time.
Got to see you balance those together.
Oh yeah, baby.
One stop shop.
Whatever, yeah,
Right.
whatever the person needs. So I'll focus on what they need and how to make them the best version of them.
Interesting. Do you ever find that they allow the two to cross pollinate in a way that's not helpful?
Well, it could be, but I wouldn't. Meaning, I try to focus just on the coaching,
Right.
um, because again, what sometimes you really, I believe that if you function better, you'll feel better. So the therapeutic part is where people kind of need to take into account that there's a whole history of failure and the way that that eats up our self-esteem and beats us down. And recognizing that allows you to have that alignment to then have emotional engagement to what you're doing, so that what you're doing is actually fixing you. And then when you do the function better, the conditioning part, you're now doing a real tikkun amidos. You're really like changing yourself and making yourself better. So in a way, I'm really doing Mussar. I'm helping people like do Mussar on themselves to improve themselves, just again from a deeper perspective, meaning I take into account all the stuff that's happened in their past, but I'm not focusing on that. I'm just moving forward. So it's very helpful for a lot of people, because I'm doing what my teachers and rabbinim did for me, which was accepting someone for who they are and allowing them to kind of move from that space moving forward.
Right. So if I'm understanding correctly, what you're saying is you really engage the practical piece of it, and when the emotional piece flares up, you address it.
If it needs to be done, yeah.
Right. Right.
But most of the times when we're doing function, like most people end up just feeling better. When they're functioning better, they feel better.
Right. It's easier to know that because you feel like it's the most fundamental issue, really, in
Yeah, I'll
terms of getting
provide
them where they want to
psychoed.
go.
Yeah, I'll
Right.
provide psychoeducation along the way to help address those emotional parts, because I think that's important. But again, the focus is really on just functioning better.
Right. As a coach, when I get questions like that, they'll say like, "Why do I think that?" I'm like, "That's a good question. Ask the therapist." Which is fine.
Yeah, I think that
But
I
yeah.
even recommend people be in therapy while they're getting coaching, because the same thing, right?
Right,
Like
most of my
first
clients
of all,
do. Yeah.
oh yeah, good. Because if you look at it from an executive functioning perspective, right, self-awareness, which is something that every ADHD person thinks they're really good at. Yeah, I'm really self-aware. That just means really often it's just that they're self-absorbed.
Well,
Because
interesting.
self-awareness as an executive functioning means that they are not only able to tell what's going on inside themselves, but how other people react or interact with them, meaning that you're able to sense what other people feel about you or will do in response to what you do. And a lot of them aren't so great at that. And so that's why I often say that when someone with ADHD tells me, no, I'm really self-aware, in my mind, I translate that as I'm really self-absorbed. And then again, I help them realize, and we learn together until they then can grow that self-awareness to become something that includes other people. And then that's a true self-awareness. It's a real executive function. And therapy really does help that, especially like psychoanalysis or CBT, right? Where you're
Right.
kind of seeing yourself and thinking of what happens in response to what you do and how you feel. That really does develop that self-awareness. And without self-awareness, you ain't getting nowhere. And letter Vav, the sixth letter of Or Yisrael by Yisrael Salanter, he stresses how important it is to know yourself in order to work on yourself, in order to improve. And it's spelled out even more clearly by Rav Yitzchak Isaac Sher in his introduction to Sefer Cheshbon Nefesh. He literally opens up like straight away and he says, "You do a lakol," that without knowing how you work, Mussar is not going to help you. Meaning, the idea of trying to improve or get better ain't going to work unless you have self-awareness, unless you have true das and awareness of yourself, who you are, where you are, and the Lahavdil, Carl Rogers used to say, change can only happen after I accept myself. He says it's an ironic thing that I only change after I accepted myself.
It's a very interesting distinction you make, the difference between knowing yourself from the inside and knowing yourself from the outside. That's very significant because a lot of people come in and they know a lot about themselves, but they don't necessarily know a lot about themselves in that broader context, which makes all the
Mhm.
difference.
Yep.
Okay, do we have time to talk about the cycle of ambiguity?
Oh, we have time just to talk about just the cycle of ambiguity. I'm afraid we're going to miss out on the rest of the felt method, which is the cycle of agency as well. So let's just go through the cycle of ambiguity, because I think it'll help a lot of people kind of understand where they are and what's going on inside them. So the cycle of ambiguity is something that happens to everyone, honestly. It's just much more common and prevalent with those of us with ADHD or any other executive functioning deficit. That's because the prefrontal cortex is our processor where we're analyzing everything that we interact with in our life. And when a person has ADHD or anxiety, then they'll often kind of get stuck with like just feeling this like incomplete information overwhelm. Just like so much data coming into their head. They don't have clarity on all of it. It's almost like, if you think about it, a great line from Ari Tuckman is, clutter is deferred decisions. So if you're doing that inside your head, that means you have a lot of mental clutter. There's a lot of clutter inside your head, and that could get very overwhelming. So that's the first step, is that ambiguity. Ambiguity just means confusion. It's a fancy word that starts with an A, and I wanted everything to have an A. So ambiguity is confusion, and that confusion comes from having a mind filled with clutter, with deferred decisions, with incomplete information, and it can feel very overwhelming. And that often leads to anxiety, right? Just like not clinical anxiety, just like nervousness, tension, discomfort.
Right, you don't know what to do. You're like,
Yeah,
yeah,
you kind of you feel like stuck. I don't know what to do,
you're turning
or where
brain,
to start. And so then, what we often then do is go straight to avoidance. Let me go check Yeshiva World News one more time.
Right,
Nothing changed since the last time you checked it 6 minutes ago. Yeah,
right.
But let me just see anything about the hostages. I don't know. Let's see. It I saw this great line by Judd Brewer. He says that the world's biggest addiction is avoidance. And I that makes a lot of sense,
Very
especially
good.
know that no one really likes that feeling of discomfort and tension and confusion. And so it makes sense that we go straight to our phones, right? Or to anything other than the thing that we need to or want to be working on. And then when you're avoiding what you're supposed to do, you're not getting any more clarity. So you're still stuck in that confusion. And that's the cycle of ambiguity, where you just kind of just keep recycling that ambiguity and tension and avoidance, and it just keeps ruining more and more areas of your life. And the way to solve that, is the the felt method, which goes through it. But in short, on one foot, it's the Mesilas Yesharim. Yesod HaChasidus, right? The principle, the foundation is, right, Yizbar v'yisames eitzal adam machavaso, to clarify for themselves and to really hone in on the truth, the accuracy of what I need to be doing. What do I need to be doing now? What do I need to be doing right now? If you can create clarity, then that is the way to cut through the fog of confusion and to really just create the calm that comes from beating your ambiguity.
Okay, we're this is incredible. Thank you. Where can people look you up to get a little more of the Felt method and get that cycle of agency?
Oh yay! They could just Google my name, Nachi Felt. I have a lot of podcasts and other stuff where I talk about it on my website, www.adhddoctor.org. I even have like handouts and free stuff to download. There's a lot of great stuff there, and one day we hope to put on the website also all of these speeches and presentations and other things like that, so it could all be in one place and people could find it. They could also look up my English name, Michael Felt, Dr. Michael Felt. There's also some great stuff under that. And everything's out there. It's all out there. You got the matzasa.
Okay, really fantastic. Anything else you want to finish off with today, or a message of hope, perhaps?
Yeah, it's all hafach boy. It's all in there. It's all inside us. If we can have that bitachon and Hashem didn't make a mistake, we're not a mistake. And we have all the tools inside us. We just have to kind of figure out how to use them and to create that clarity for ourselves, to be yizbar v'yisames. It allows us to really feel that acceptance of like, Hashem made me this way on purpose. I'm supposed to be this way. And there's something good and worthwhile, b'shvili nivra olam, that Hashem felt was worth it. I'm worth it.
Okay, incredible. Rabbi Dr. Nachi Felt, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Thank you again for listening to this episode of the ADHD Heroes podcast. For questions about the podcast, you can email us at adhdheroespodcast@gmail.com. Also, for sponsorships or to share your story, your ADHD story, you can also email us at the same place, adhdheroespodcast@gmail.com. To be in touch with me about ADHD coaching, writing, or speaking engagements, you can email me at rsreichadhdcoach@gmail.com. Be sure to check out my website, rsreich.com, adhdcoach.com. You can follow me on LinkedIn, or you can check out my blog on nefesh.org. Check out my blog there under my name. Important disclaimer: podcasts are great, but they do not take the place of mental health help or medical help. So if you need help with mental health or need a doctor, be sure to be in contact with some of them. Please, if you like this show, please rate, review, and share with a friend. That's how these things get out there. Thank you again for listening, and thank you to our producers at Pretty Easy Podcasts.